you, what were your reflections? What were your takeaways from last night's game?
Yeah, so looking at last night, I have three main takeaways. Number one, I mean, you hit on most of them, but number one, Marc Gasol, like, whoa. I mean, for the past year or so, actually for most of his Grizzlies career now, people have been clamoring for him to be more aggressive, and I've been on his defense saying, he doesn't really score that efficiently. He doesn't score. His field goal percentage is always kind of low for a big man. So I was like, maybe this is what he is, and we shouldn't force him to, do more. And he basically put all that to rest today and proved me completely wrong because last night he was an animal, and I want to see more. So keep that up, Mark. And there's more of that in the Friday Morning Five tomorrow, as Zach teased. It's one of the questions that we'll be addressing is, will he be hitting 30 points again this season? So number two that I wanted to touch upon is Vince Carter. And I'm not going to put any stock into 1 for 7. I mean, LeBron James went 1 for 9 in the first half tonight. It's a thing. It happens. Streaky shooters, they shoot a lot, and they have a lot of good games. They have a couple bad games. Vince will be fine, especially once he plays into game shape. But number three, something I am concerned about is, and I'm not being skewed by the first game with this. It's something that was a worry before the season, and it's getting worse after seeing it against a team like Minnesota, is that off the bench, we have no athleticism. And, that's not to knock the guys that we have. We have very good players off the bench, I think. But last year, guys like Ed Davis and James Johnson, they could play above the rim. They could defend athletic guys. And as we saw last night with Thaddeus Young, I think this is going to be a problem until we get a body in there that can, jump and get up there with everybody else.
So do you not think that John Lure is athletic enough to hang in there, that he kind of just had a bad night? I mean, for me, I feel like he looks a little unsure of himself when he's playing. I mean, he's a very quiet guy in the locker room, but I feel like he's athletic enough, but he just kind of, I don't know. I mean, I watch him play, and sometimes, like in the last preseason game, he had like 20 points. It was crazy. But then, he, like you said, he gets kind of on a hot streak. And what about Quincy? I mean, Quincy's fairly athletic. Is he not one of the guys you think could come in and be that guy off the bench?
Yeah, so it's not that I don't think these guys are athletic per se, but it's more of a playing style. Like Ed Davis, he's a pogo stick down at the bottom of the post, James Johnson, he's always off his feet, and sometimes too much, often too much, which is, I think, part of his undoing in Memphis towards the end. But John Lure, Quincy Pondexter, they don't really play that way. Quincy's not the quickest laterally. He's got great length, which helps him masquerade as an athletic three. And John Lure, kind of the same. It's not that he's not athletic, but it's more of his playing style. And I think that we need somebody that can, elevate and do it willingly and do it often enough that it's part of their nature.
Okay, so how does that happen? Who's the guy out there that can make that happen? I think I know where you're going to go with this, but I mean, so how do we remedy that situation? If you're Coach Danziger and you got on the bench, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, Coach Danziger would play Jordan Adams, but Danziger doesn't think that Jordan Adams would help this problem either. It's kind of one of the concerns with him is that he also doesn't play that way. I think that the answer is somewhere outside the roster. We saw it last year when James Johnson came on and really changed the course of the season, that it really helps to have an energizer out there, whether or not he's all that effective. I mean, James Johnson was incredibly effective, but even towards the end of the season when he was kind of, waning off his super blood sport awesomeness, whatever we wanted to call him, having somebody like that can just enter the game and, throw the opponent off guard is incredibly valuable. And I think that that's the one thing that this roster is lacking.